The Fire of Ouagadougou. A clash of titans on live TV. The studio lights blazed like 1,000 suns, casting long shadows across the polished stage. The air was thick with anticipation, the kind that hums in the moments before history is made. The set of Global Pulse, the world's most watched political talk show, was a sleek, modern marvel, glass panels, holographic displays, and a circular stage that made every guest feel like they were standing at the center of the universe. Tonight, the universe was watching. The host, Cassandra Wells, adjusted her earpiece and flashed a practiced smile at the camera. Her voice, smooth as velvet but sharp as a blade, carried the weight of the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special edition of Global Pulse. Tonight, we have an unprecedented lineup: former U.S. President Donald J. Trump and Captain IBRAHIM Traoré, the revolutionary leader of Burkina Faso. Two men, two visions, one stage. Let's dive in. The audience, a carefully curated mix of diplomats, journalists, and influencers, erupted in applause. The cameras panned to the two men seated across from each other. Trump, in his signature navy suit and red tie, leaned back in his chair, exuding the confidence of a man who had faced countless battles, political and otherwise. His golden hair caught the light, and his smirk suggested he was ready to dominate the conversation, as he always had. Opposite him sat Captain IBRAHIM Traoré, the young, charismatic leader of Burkina Faso. At just 37, Traoré was an enigma to the Western world, a military man turned revolutionary, a leader who had seized power in a bloodless coup and vowed to rebuild his nation from the ashes of colonialism and corruption. His dark green military uniform was crisp, his posture rigid yet calm. His eyes, sharp and unyielding, seemed to pierce through the spectacle, as if he saw something no one else could. Cassandra wasted no time. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Let's start with a question that's on everyone's mind: the future of global leadership. President Trump, you've spoken extensively about America first and the need for strong, decisive leadership. Captain Traoré, you've championed sovereignty and self-reliance for African nations. Can you both share your visions for the world order in 2025? Trump leaned forward, his hands gesturing expansively. Cassandra, let me tell you something. The world is a mess right now, total disaster. You've got weak leaders, you've got globalists running the show, and they're selling out their countries. America first isn't just a slogan, it's the only way to survive. We need strong borders, strong economies, and leaders who put their people first. Nobody does it better than me, folks. I rebuilt America, brought jobs back, made deals nobody else could. And I'm telling you, the world respects strength. They respect me. The audience clapped politely, though a few murmurs rippled through the crowd. Cassandra turned to Traoré, her expression neutral but curious. Captain Traoré, your response. Traoré's face remained impassive, but his voice, when he spoke, was a low, resonant force, carrying the weight of a man who had stared down chaos and emerged unshaken. Ms. Wells, the world does not need more slogans. It needs truth. For too long, the global order has been a machine designed to extract wealth from the many to enrich the few. My vision is simple: sovereignty. Every nation, every people, must have the right to determine their own destiny. No more foreign bases on our soil. No more debt traps disguised as aid. No more puppet leaders serving distant capitals. Burkina Faso is showing the world what it means to stand tall. The audience stirred, a mix of applause and uneasy whispers. Trump's smirk faltered for a fraction of a second, but he recovered quickly, waving a hand dismissively. Look, Captain, I respect the passion, I really do. But let's be real. You're talking about a small country, okay? A small country with big problems. America's the leader of the free world. We've got the military, the economy, the innovation. You can't compare. We're on another level. The tension in the room thickened, like a storm gathering on the horizon. Cassandra seized the moment, her eyes gleaming with the instinct of a seasoned journalist. Captain Traoré, President Trump suggests that smaller nations like Burkina Faso can't compete on the global stage. How do you respond to that? Traoré leaned forward, his gaze locking onto Trump's. The studio seemed to shrink around them, as if the world had narrowed to this single exchange. Mr. Trump, he began, his voice steady but laced with an edge that made the audience lean in, you speak of strength, but strength is not measured by the size of your army or the weight of your wallet. Strength is measured by the will of your people. In Burkina Faso, we have faced empires, French, British, American, and we have survived. We have survived your sanctions, your media campaigns, your attempts to destabilize us. Why? Because we are free. You say America is the leader of the free world, but tell me, how free is a nation that dictates terms to others? How free is a nation that builds its wealth on the backs of the global south? The audience gasped audibly. A few clapped, but most sat frozen, their eyes darting between the two men. Trump's face reddened, his jaw tightening. Excuse me, Captain, but that's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. America doesn't exploit anybody. We give billions in aid, billions. We're the most generous country in the world. And let me tell you, people love us for it. They love me for it. Traoré didn't flinch. Generous, he said, his voice rising just enough to command the room. Your aid comes with chains. Your loans come with conditions. Your generosity is a contract, and the price is our sovereignty. Do you know what we call that in Burkina Faso? We call it neocolonialism. And we reject it. The studio erupted. Cheers, boos, and shouts collided in a cacophony of raw emotion. Cassandra raised a hand, trying to restore order, but the energy was electric, uncontainable. Trump, visibly rattled, leaned back in his chair, his fingers drumming on the armrest. You're out of line, Captain. Way out of line. You don't know what you're talking about. America's the greatest country on earth, and we don't need lectures from anybody. Traoré's lips curled into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. Mr. Trump, I do not lecture. I speak the truth. And the truth is this, your vision of leadership is a castle built on sand. You speak of greatness, but greatness cannot be claimed, it must be earned. In Burkina Faso, we earn it every day. We earn it by feeding our people, by building our schools, by defending our borders without begging for your approval. Can America say the same? The audience was on its feet now, some cheering wildly, others shouting in protest. Cassandra, sensing the moment slipping out of her control, tried to steer the conversation. Gentlemen, let's focus on, but Traoré wasn't finished. He stood, his presence commanding the stage like a general on a battlefield. Let me tell you a story, Mr. Trump. In my village, when I was a boy, we had nothing. No electricity, no clean water, no schools worth the name. Your country sent us aid, bags of rice with American flags stamped on them. But those bags came with a price. We had to open our markets, let your companies in, let your banks control our economy. And when we resisted, you called us ungrateful. You called us backwards. But we are not backwards. We are not your charity case. We are a nation of warriors, and we will not bow. The studio was a volcano, erupting with sound. Trump shot to his feet, pointing a finger at Traoré. You listen here, Captain. You don't get to talk to me like that. Nobody talks to me like that. I've dealt with bigger leaders than you, presidents, kings, you name it. You're lucky to even be on this stage with me. Traoré didn't move. His eyes, burning with quiet intensity, held Trump's gaze. Lucky, he said softly, but the word carried like a thunderclap. I am not here because of luck. I am here because my people chose me. Can you say the same? The audience roared, a tidal wave of sound that shook the studio. Cassandra, for the first time in her career, looked genuinely stunned. She glanced at her producers off stage, who were frantically signaling for a commercial break. But there was no stopping this. The world was watching, and the world was in shock. The aftermath, a world divided. The debate didn't end there, but that moment, Traoré's unyielding defiance, his refusal to bend under the weight of Trump's bravado, became the spark that ignited a global firestorm. Clips of the exchange went viral within minutes, flooding social media platforms across the world. On X, hashtags like #Traoré vs Trump and sovereignty now trended for days, amassing billions of views. Memes of Traoré's calm, piercing stare juxtaposed against Trump's flushed, indignant expression became a cultural phenomenon. In Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso, the streets erupted in celebration. Crowds gathered in Independence Square, waving the national flag and chanting Traoré's name. "He spoke for us," cried Mariam Ouedraogo, a schoolteacher who had watched the broadcast on a communal screen. "He told the world what we've always known, we are not their pawns." In the United States, reactions were polarized. Trump supporters flooded X with posts decrying Traoré as an arrogant upstart and a dictator in disguise. "Who does this guy think he is?" one user posted, garnering thousands of likes. "Trump put America first, and this nobody from nowhere thinks he can lecture us." Others, however, were captivated by Traoré's message. Progressive activists and anti-imperialist groups hailed him as a hero, organizing rallies in cities like New York and Los Angeles with slogans like "Sovereignty for All" and "End Neocolonialism." The international community was equally divided. European leaders, wary of Traoré's anti-Western rhetoric, issued cautious statements about the need for dialogue and cooperation. Meanwhile, nations across the global South, Africa, Latin America, and parts of Asia, rallied behind Traoré. Leaders from Mali, Niger, and Cuba sent public messages of support, with Cuba's president tweeting, "Captain Traoré speaks for the oppressed. The era of empire is over." Back in the studio, the debate had continued for another hour, but nothing matched the intensity of that first exchange. Trump had tried to regain the upper hand, pivoting to his achievements in trade deals and foreign policy, but Traoré's responses were relentless, each one a carefully aimed arrow. When Trump boasted about America's military might, Traoré countered with stories of Burkina Faso's resilience against terrorist insurgencies. When Trump touted economic growth, Traoré spoke of the human cost of global capitalism, citing statistics on poverty and exploitation that left the audience stunned. Cassandra, ever the professional, had managed to wrap the show with a semblance of order, but the damage, or the triumph, depending on one's perspective, was done. As the cameras cut, Trump stormed off the stage, muttering about disrespect and fake news. Traoré, by contrast, remained seated, shaking hands with the crew and thanking Cassandra in his measured, deliberate way. The ripple effect in the weeks that followed, the global pulse debate became a turning point. For Traoré, it was a coronation of sorts, a moment that cemented his status as a global icon of resistance. Burkina Faso, a nation once dismissed as a footnote in geopolitics, became a symbol of defiance. Foreign investment poured into the country, not from Western corporations but from African, Asian, and Latin American partners who saw Traoré's vision as a blueprint for a new world order. For Trump, the debate was a rare stumble. His base remained loyal, but the optics were damaging. Pundits on both sides of the political spectrum dissected his performance, with some calling it a masterclass in being outplayed. A viral op-ed in the New York Times titled "The Lion and the Tycoon" argued that Traoré's calm, principled stand had exposed the limits of Trump's bluster. In a world hungry for authenticity, the author wrote, Traoré's voice rang louder than Trump's megaphone. But the story didn't end with the debate. Traoré's words sparked a global movement. In Africa, youth-led protests demanded an end to foreign influence, from French military bases to Chinese debt traps. In the Americas, activists drew parallels between Traoré's message and their own struggles against economic inequality. Even in Europe, where skepticism of Traoré's methods ran high, grassroots movements began questioning the legacy of colonialism and its lingering effects. Trump, never one to stay silent, took to X to fire back. Captain Traoré thinks he's a big shot, but he's all talk. No results. Burkina Faso's a mess, folks. Sad. The post garnered millions of views, but it was drowned out by the flood of support for Traoré. One user, a young woman from Lagos, replied, "You call it a mess. We call it freedom." The man behind the moment who was Ibrahim Traoré, this man who had shaken the world with a single television appearance. To his people, he was a savior, a leader who had emerged from the chaos of Burkina Faso's political turmoil to restore hope. Born in a small village in the country's north, Traoré had grown up in poverty, his childhood marked by the absence of basic necessities. Yet he was brilliant, excelling in school and earning a place at Burkina Faso's top military academy. His rise through the ranks was swift, driven by a rare combination of discipline, intellect, and charisma. When he seized power in 2022, many in the West dismissed him as another military strongman. But Traoré was different. He didn't seek wealth or personal glory. His speeches, delivered in a mix of French and Moor, were filled with references to Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's revolutionary hero, whose vision of self-reliance and anti-imperialism Traoré sought to revive. Under his leadership, Burkina Faso had made strides. Agricultural reforms boosted food production, new schools and clinics opened, and the country's gold mines, long controlled by foreign companies, were nationalized. Yet Traoré was not without critics. Some accused him of authoritarianism, pointing to his suspension of the constitution and crackdowns on dissent. Others warned that his defiance of global powers could isolate Burkina Faso economically. But to his supporters, these were necessary sacrifices in the fight for true independence. The legacy months after the debate, the world was still grappling with its impact. Traoré's words had become a rallying cry, a reminder that power, in its truest form, lies not in wealth or weapons but in the courage to speak truth. Trump, meanwhile, continued his campaign to reclaim the spotlight, but even his most ardent supporters admitted that the debate had been a rare misstep. In Ouagadougou, a mural appeared on the walls of the presidential palace. Traoré, his fist raised, with the words, "Sovereignty or Nothing," painted in bold red letters. It became a pilgrimage site for activists from across the continent, a symbol of a new era. For Global Pulse, the show's ratings soared, and Cassandra Wells became a household name. But she never forgot the night that changed everything, the night when a young captain from Burkina Faso faced down a titan and left the world in shock.